These pyroclastic surges and flows are extremely deadly, and there are very few survivors from these effects. Probably the fraction of survivors is less than 1 in 1,000.
This flood of searing hot ash, toxic gas, and rock raced down the mountain at 150 miles per hour. With temperatures more than 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, it incinerated everything and everyone in its path instantly.
When the pyroclastic cloud came, the death is immediate because you get vaporized.
The skulls exploded through the expansion of the brain and conversion of your body fluids to steam.
And wouldn't you know it, all our main cast of characters survived. Except for Isildur's friend, whose name I can't remember. We knew he was gonna die the second he told his girlfriend he'd be back soon from the war. But everyone whose name is on the title card of the show's intro survived a massive wall of 1,000-degree volcanic gas, leveling buildings, vaporizing organic material, turning extras into fossils. They are all protected by the miracle of plot armor. Why are some people killed instantly and clearly dead, just right next to Galadriel and other main characters, while they themselves are apparently unharmed and barely even singed? No idea. So this week, we return yet again to the dregs of boredom, and even though all the main characters were in this tiny little village standing right next to each other when the volcano exploded, somehow they all get separated in this episode. They start in the same place, and they're going to the same place, and they leave at about the same time. Galadriel and Theo, for some reason, pair up, even though they have no relationship to each other. They don't really stop to search for Theo's mom, or Arendir, or Halbrand, or the Queen, and some of the other Númenórean soldiers pair up and go off together. I have no idea why everyone is split up in this episode. The show creates a lot of these contrivances for false tension, because they need to pad this story for 5 seasons. The show actually wants you to believe that Isildur is dead. They fake Isildur's death. Isildur, the person that everyone knows cuts the ring off Sauron's hand. Who is this show written for? Who is the audience? I know, I get that the showrunners do not care at all about adhering to Tolkien's writing, but killing off Isildur would also ruin the tie-in to Peter Jackson's film trilogy. So what is the point of faking his death? No one is buying that. But I get the sense that Elendil let his horse go, and he's gonna go and do the whole Aragorn thing from the Two Towers, where you think Aragorn's dead, and the horse brings him back. It's gonna be the same exact thing. This show continually tries to recreate moments from Peter Jackson's film trilogy, and every time it does, they fall completely flat. In this episode in particular, there's moments like Galadriel and Theo hiding underneath the log while the orc is over them, recreating the moment when the hobbits, Frodo, Merry, Pip, and Sam were hiding under the log from the Ring Wraith in Fellowship of the Ring. And this is just like, there's no tension in this scene. You also have scenes of like the Harfoots trying to recreate the forming of the Fellowship of the Ring when the hobbits are all popping up and being like, I'm going with you. And it's just not there. It's just not there. And I really don't know who this show is for, because it's obviously not for people that are diehard Tolkien fans that know his writing in and out and have reread it many times and know the world and the lore and the history and the characters. It's not for them. Because the show has committed to stupid storylines, like Mithril being infused by a Silmaril and being essential to saving the elves' lives. None of that lines up with Tolkien at all. And the show even described that legend as being apocryphal, but then they committed to it in this episode, showing that yes, actually the Mithril does remove this blight from the tree. Oh, it's just baffling. So the only thing I can think of is that this show is for people that were casual viewers of Peter Jackson's film trilogy. They were fans of it, but not diehard enough fans to go and learn the history of Middle-earth and explore more of Tolkien's writings. This is some sort of soft prequel to those films. It's really expensive fan fiction that's a prequel to Peter Jackson's films, maybe. That's the best explanation I can have for why this series exists. And this is the problem with prequels, right? We know Isildur's not dead. We know that Galadriel's not gonna die. We know that Elrond's not gonna die because he didn't get the Mithril. And we know that Celeborn's not dead. He's name-dropped in this episode. Out of the blue, Galadriel's like, oh, by the way, I was married and my husband Celeborn died. And everything these characters say contradicts what they do. And the Harfoots, for example, The way that they described themselves, they're always looking out for each other and they never leave anyone behind. Well, that contradicts everything that you've done up to this point. And it's unintentionally ironic. The writers actually sincerely want you to believe and care for these characters, and they're supposed to be like these moments in the show that are really impactful and emotional, and the weight is just not there because it's at odds with everything we've been shown about these characters in the world and what they do. This was the penultimate episode of what is arguably one of the biggest seasons of television of all time. Does it feel like it's building towards something, some epic season finale? No. They're honestly probably going to make Halbrand Sauron, and that is like the lamest Sauron I've ever seen. I do on occasion shop from Amazon. It's convenient, and every time I get a package from them, it's got like Rings of Power promotions on it. Every time I open Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, or InDesign, I'm met with artwork from the Rings of Power. They're pushing this show so hard. $60 million an episode, $1 billion project. We're witnessing one of the biggest flops of all time, in my opinion. Where did all that money go? It didn't go to the writing, it didn't go to the story. I think I might have an answer.
What are you gonna do?
Told you. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna watch a movie. We're gonna take some pictures.
No! God, please, no!
I'm
No!
gonna pay you.
No! No!
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. We have one more episode to go, one more week. I couldn't help but sacrifice my body this week in my cubital tunnel syndrome to put together a few memes and edit this video. Luckily, the pain hasn't been too bad, so hopefully I'll be able to do some videos in the future in a similar vein. You, dear viewer, are all that I have left. My wife has left me. And what I mean by that is she has rage quit the show, or more accurately put, she has bored quit the show. She just does not care to continue anymore. Can't say that I blame her. The writing is ridiculous, and the show is boring. I feel like I have to see this thing through to the end just to say I was there and I watched the beautiful world of Middle-earth burn. I watched the last great IP fall. And luckily, we will always have the original writings of J.R.R. Tolkien to fall back on to read to our children or our grandchildren. We'll be able to share with them Peter Jackson's original film trilogy. Those great works of art will always be there. This show probably won't be forgotten, though, either. It will stand as a cautionary tale, especially for aspiring writers and storytellers. There's a lot that we can learn of what not to do from the Rings of Power. One more week, we will suffer through it together. I invite you to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I hope to see you back here soon.